prison, she started using printing out transcripts of Khan Academy and giving him these stacks of paper when she visited him in prison. And through just the transcripts, Jason was able to start realizing that he, in school he felt weak in math, but now he's like, oh, I could learn this stuff. And his sentence was taken down from 30 years to still 15 years. Oh. So now in his mid-30s, he's released from prison. He's feeling more confident about his knowledge. He goes to community college, and then he's able to use Khan Academy properly with the videos and the exercises, what a lot of y'all are familiar with. Mm-hmm. And then he decides he wants to transfer to a 4-year college. He uses the SAT prep that we do in partnership with the College Board, and he starts doing quite well. And I mean, this is what's really mind-blowing. At age 35, he was able to transfer to Stanford University as a computer science student. And that was the Jason who, and by the end of the story, we were all tearing up. Yeah. I mean, this was as powerful. And then I asked him, I was like, hey, when everyone leaves, can I take my phone out and just video you? Because I think your story, obviously it's something we love to share in forums like this when we're pleading for people to realize that, hey, Khan Academy needs your help. But it's also an inspiring story because, I think we all have days where we're like, oh, things could be a little bit easier, or I had that setback or that setback. But when you hear a story like Jason's, you realize that most of our setbacks are fairly small in comparison to what he has gone through, and you see how far he's gone. Yeah. And he still has setbacks, but it's amazing how positive he is. I mean, when you have a prison record, it's still hard to get internships, still hard to get jobs, even if you have Stanford on your resume. So, I think it's always good. I mean, Thanksgiving was last week, but I'm still in kind of the Thanksgiving mode. I think we all need to really appreciate how good most of us have it when you look at and Jason appreciates how good he has it, even though he's had a tough beginning. Mm-hmm. But we have more donations. Rita, thank you, Rita. Really appreciate it.
YouTube's just joining us live too now.
Oh, okay. YouTube
was a little late behind. Our YouTube audience.
All right. So
hi, YouTube.
Hi, YouTube. so just explain what's going on here.
Yeah.
Lizzie, you want to?
Yeah, for sure. So today is Giving Tuesday, and Khan Academy, we are a nonprofit, so we are asking for your support today, and we have a goal of raising $5,000 during this live stream. And during this live stream, we'll call out people who do donate and also take your questions. So if you have any questions, please put it in the comments of this live stream, and we'll try to get to as many as we can. But it does look like we have some more.
And we might also call out people who aren't donating. No, we don't know how to do that. We would do it if we knew how, but we don't know how. I think a few people got scared. Well, thanks, Jivan, for donating. Means a lot. And people can donate on Facebook. There's a place to donate. On YouTube, there's a place. That's a new feature they added.
Yes, yeah.
So there's a place to donate on YouTube.
It's a blue button somewhere around the video.
Someplace.
Top
right.
Okay.
Not at the screen of the
Yeah, awesome.
And
top right.
And it's on screen where you can go to donate.
Okay, you'll figure it. You'll figure it out.
Yes.
And if we raise $5,000, before we show it, I don't want to.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'll explain. It should be motivation enough. Khan Academy is a not-for-profit, has a mission of free world-class education for anyone, anywhere. Your donation will literally help us serve tens of millions of people.
Yes.
And as we explained to the Facebook users, we're live streaming on YouTube and Facebook simultaneously. Very high tech.
Yeah.
As we explained, a not-for-profit like Khan Academy, no one owns it. I don't own Khan Academy. Lizzie doesn't own Khan Academy. It's a public good. We're employees of Khan Academy. But your donations is what allows us to continue to provide things for free. You see a lot of things on the internet that seem free, but they're making money off of you in some way, shape, or form. They're feeding you ads, which you don't realize it, but that's programming your brain in sometimes shady ways. They are, maybe they have some kind of freemium. They're going to try to sell you something at some point, or they're going to do something maybe, a little bit suspicious with your data. Not always suspicious, but they're going to do something with your data. Mm-hmm. But as a not-for-profit, and not only as a not-for-profit, we're supported by philanthropy. And our goal is keep Khan Academy free, make sure that our bottom line is not profit. Our bottom line is our mission, free world-class education for anyone, anywhere. So hopefully that is motivation enough to donate to Khan Academy.
Yes.
But just to put some of you on the edge, over the edge, not on the edge, over the line, on top of that, if we're able to raise $5,000 over the next half hour, I will explain this notorious orders of operations problem, which is fascinating how popular this has gotten.
Yeah.
But I think, it's most of y'all know this, but and also Lizzie and I are answering questions, and we're also doing shout outs to people like Adir, who just gave a donation. So thank you. And Victoria Fry, I think, have I mentioned Victoria yet? Well, thank you, Victoria.
Wonderful. So it does look like we have some questions that are already coming in. So what is your advice for when you can't get your SAT score up?
All right. SAT score. So I think there's a couple of things. So before even thinking about how to get the SAT score up, or, it's just to remind, and we made a video about de-stressing the SAT. First, appreciate that you are not your SAT score. I think especially when you are in the later stages of high school and you're in this period where you're applying to college, and I know this is happening to a lot of students right now, or maybe there's a lot of juniors who are starting to think about the process for next year, it can seem like your whole identity is going to be defined by your grades, your extracurriculars, your SAT score, where you go to college, et cetera, et cetera. Everyone's comparing. And that's not the healthiest thing in the world. And we've all been there, but I think, what you're going to realize is over the broader sweep of your life that these are all just very minor data points. And, we have people who've, billionaires, some of whom who've, donated to Khan Academy, and their SAT scores were not so impressive, but they're very impressive people. Right. They're very entrepreneurial. They were able to do great things, and they might have just not been, for whatever reason, great test takers or whatever you want to call it. So that's my first foundational is like, you are not your SAT score. You are not your grades. You are not defined by where you go to college. And likewise, I know people with very good data points who, for various reasons have had to, struggle in various ways. Right. So once again, that's the disclaimer.
Yeah, that's a great tip.
Yes. And look, it's easy to pretend that I'm beyond all of this, but I have to remind it to myself sometimes. That sometimes you visit a house, a friend with a massive house, and you're like, oh, this is nice. Right. No, I'm not defined by the square footage of my house. Right. But my advice for you for SAT or really any test is, one, there's direct advice. We have the official SAT practice that we've partnered with the College Board, and we have many efficacy studies that have shown that pretty much every hour that you're able to engage on the platform, you are going to grow. And there are better ways to use things like our official SAT practice. I would recommend taking as many practice tests as you can. When you take the practice tests, try to simulate real testing conditions as well as possible. After you've taken the test and you've graded your test, look at what you got wrong and go back to those questions and make sure that you understand how they work. I feel a lot of people, when they see a test, especially like a test like the SAT, they're like, oh, this is hard. There's just going to be questions I don't know. But it's worth appreciating that the SAT, especially the SAT over the last several years, it really doesn't cover anything that isn't taught outside of Algebra 2 or outside of the 10th grade. So if you feel pretty comfortable in that, you shouldn't look at anything and say, oh, this is some type of mysterious quantum physics, calculus. It's nothing like that's on the SAT. It's all stuff that you should see by the time you're in 10th grade. So you should feel confident that you can do any problem, reflect on what you weren't able to do, always work on the stuff that you find maybe most challenging. Sometimes it's a temptation for us to work on the stuff that's easy for us. And what I'm describing, this would be true if you were, preparing for some type of a sport as well. Mm-hmm. Practice what you're not good at. Try to simulate real conditions when possible. Do kind of that weak point training. And I would say, rather than binge prepare, just do 8 hours all at once. If you have enough time, let's say you're a month away from the SAT, try to put in 20 minutes a day. If some days you're able to put in more, that's great. But if you're able to do that regular practice and then maybe once a week do a full form practice exam, I think you're going to be in pretty good shape. Yeah. And I've already said this advice. We were on Instagram as a pre-live stream. And I would say, I've actually been meditating a ton, this especially the last year and a half. It's helped me just with all of the different things in my life that's been like, with family and work and raising money, you can sometimes just get really stressed.
Yeah.
And just, at first when you start meditating and you spend, you start maybe 5-10 minutes at a time. Now I do 30 minutes every morning. You're like, what am I doing? Your brain starts like, so are you wasting your time? You have so much to do. But slowly your brain starts to still. And when you're in that kind of a mode, everything becomes easier. And ideally, when you take the SAT, you're in that type of a mode. You've gotten your sleep, you've gotten your food, and you're just ready to kind of just, and you do what you can, and the chips fall where they do.
Right. Yeah.
One of the things that I've been interested in a lot of Eastern philosophy ever since we did some of the world history content on Khan Academy. And in Vedic philosophy, in kind of the Hindu philosophy, there's these notions of kind of aspects of the universe, including in work. And there's sattvic work, which is work that is true work, that you do because you think it is right, but you're not fixated on the outcome. Mm-hmm. It could, rajasic work is work where you are somewhat fixated on the outcome. I'm going to do this because we're going to raise $5,000. And if we don't, I'm going to be really disappointed, which I will be. Or if I don't do this, I'm going to get in trouble. Therefore, I do it. And then you have Temasek work, which is I'm doing it because someone's forcing in me. I don't really want to do it. I'm dragging my feet. I'm not really into it. And I think most of us are kind of in this rajasic mode most of our lives. Mm-hmm. We're like, I need a good SAT score. And if I don't get that, I'm going to be miserable and I'm going to suffer. Right. And as Buddha says, suffering is all caused by attachment especially attachment to outcome. And so I remind myself every day, and it's definitely de-stresses me, and anyone preparing for a test or anything in life, try to take that sattvic attitude. You definitely put work into it, put energy in it, do what you think is right, but don't be obsessed with the outcome. The outcome is what it is. If you do what you think is right, the chips fall where they do. And then not only will you find yourself less stressed, but you'll probably have better outcomes as well when you're not obsessed with them.
Yeah.
So long answer. I got a little bit more preachy than I...
Yeah, but super helpful and great things to think about. Even like
You're
past
very flattering,
the
Lizzie.
SAT,
Yes.
too, right?
Yes.
Like even just regular.
No,
that
that what I just said applies well beyond
yes,
the SAT,
definitely.
and I still work on it. Let's see other people. Monica Khan, maybe we're related. Thank you for your donation. Rocky Kirk, thank you.
Thank you so
and
much.
And Siog Chandramuli, thank you. And Tui Dam, thank you so much for your donations. Let's see.
Right, there was a funny comment. So when I hear Sal's voice, I want to do math.
That's great. Go do math.
Yes. That's awesome. Another question from YouTube. How did you get the idea to start Khan Academy?
Oh, that's, I'll tell the story. I'll give a short version of it. I'll say, from a very early age, I was actually very fascinated by education, and even in undergrad, when I was a CS major and math major, I was always fascinated by how computers could be used to maybe help teach people, and I had some projects there. But I ended up working in tech. I ended up working eventually at a hedge fund, which is really just a fancy word for a investment firm that has more flexibility. And while I was doing that, I right after my wedding, my 12-year-old cousin Nadia just came out of conversation that she was having trouble in math. So I offered to tutor her remotely. I was in Boston, she was in New Orleans. So I started working with her. It was actually unit conversion she was having trouble with. She got through that and actually got caught up with her class, a little ahead of her class. And at that point, I became what I call a tiger cousin. And I called up her school and I said, I think Nadia should retake that placement test. And they said, who are you? I said, I'm her cousin. And they let her. And then she was actually put into an advanced math class. So I was a little bit hooked. This was 15 years ago. And then I started tutoring her younger brothers, and word spreads around my family that free tutoring is going on. So I was tutoring 10, 15 cousins. And then I've had, hey, these are great guinea pigs for me to test some of my ideas out on software. And so I wrote some software for them to have practice problems. Because I saw all of them, their main issues, they had gaps. A lot of them, they were trying their best. And they were all A or B students. But the reason why they're having trouble in algebra wasn't that algebra was difficult. It wasn't that they weren't bright. It's that, they might have been a little bit shaky on negative numbers or a little bit shaky on dividing decimals from 5th grade. And so I was their tutor to fill in those gaps, but also I wanted to give them practice so that they could get that feedback. And that was the first Khan Academy. I had to put it on a website someplace, and the Khan Academy domain name was available. I looked at stuff like Math Planet but it was kind of almost just a funny thing because it was just like me and my cousins. And I kind of dreamt that maybe one day other people could use this stuff. And it was actually a friend, and it had nothing to do with videos initially. And a friend said, "How are you scaling your lessons?" And I said, I'm not. It's hard to do with, at that point I had 15 cousins that I was able to do with Nadia. And he says, "Why don't you make some videos and upload them onto YouTube for your family?" And I immediately thought it was a horrible idea. I said, YouTube's for cats playing piano, not serious math. Many people have heard me say that, but that was the actual interchange. It was either that or dogs on skateboards, but you get the idea.
Yeah.
But I got over the idea that it wasn't my idea, which is an important thing in life. And I gave it a shot. And those YouTube videos started to get watched by people who weren't my family, and one thing led to another. And by 2009, I had trouble focusing on my day job because there was about 100,000 people who were using this thing called Khan Academy. And so 2008, I had set it up as a not-for-profit. And then, and actually at the time I was hoping if I could do really well in the investment world, maybe one day in 10 years, 20 years, I would have enough money to be able to retire and do this. But then events happened faster than I expected, and I didn't have anywhere near enough money I was saving up money for a down payment on our house, and our first child had been born. But, kind of the zeitgeist of the world, something was pulling, was kind of making me do this. But yeah, and quit my job. It took a while to get some of that first funding, and then we're still raising money. That's why we're here trying to raise $5,000. I will do this order of operations problem for you.
Yeah.
And you can explain this to family members and impress coworkers and people you meet in social gatherings.
Yeah, like good holiday conversations.
Yeah. Oh, I think if you walk up to someone that you might find appealing at a party or something.
Yeah.
And I think, what's cooler than that? Right? You say, you might think order of operations is boring, but let me tell you.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's how Khan Academy. That's how, and then that was back in 2009, 2010, and we've just been on a ride together since. And to be clear, Khan Academy is much more than me now.
Yeah.
You see some great people in this room, and then there's 200 people outside of this room who help forward Khan Academy's mission. Your donation helps us have a team that can do this, and there's actually thousands of volunteers on top of that.
Yeah, we have engineers and content creators, marketers, fundraisers,
educators, teachers. We have 1,000. So all of what your donation, just so people know, we have to spend many millions of dollars just to keep the servers going.
Yeah.
On Khan Academy. So it's a real operation. So, but in the course of the next few minutes, if we can raise $5,000.
Yeah. That would be awesome.
Order of
and then we'll do
operations.
some math problems.
Order of operations problem.
Awesome. So we have some more questions that came in.
Okay,
So
and we have donations too.
yeah, you want to talk
An
about
Lee,
this?
thank you very much, An.
Yeah, thanks, On.
And Heather Diego, thank you so much. Donated on
Thank you.
YouTube. She
Yeah.
found the blue button.
That's awesome. Awesome. Cool. So what is your favorite subject?
My favorite subject, it's changed over time, and it's really it's kind of whatever I'm into at the moment. I would say when I was growing up, my favorite subjects were, probably people wouldn't be surprised to hear math and science, but also I was really into art growing up. So those were my favorite subjects. I actually thought I was going to be a cartoonist when I was.
Wow.
So obviously with the videos, I found an outlet to sketch
Right.
for people. But now, through Khan Academy, we've worked on many subjects. And I think the key is realizing that almost every subject is actually really, really, really interesting. Someone on, I think it was on Instagram, had just asked, how do I get the motivation to study? And for me, it's because I have to study for Khan Academy. In fact,
Right.
I'm one of the few people over the age of 40 who has to study the same things that many of y'all have to study to make sure that but I don't want to study to just be able to go through the motions or just to be able to get an answer right. I want to study to be able to appreciate the mystery of the universe. And what you got to realize is a lot of the stuff that you might see in a textbook or that you might see on Khan Academy or in other places, you might view it as I got to figure out how this equation works, or I got to figure out what entropy means, or this or that. But you should be excited because, for example, this notions of entropy. These are things that people have pondered for hundreds or thousands of years, and some people dedicated their entire careers to some aspect of it. And you're able to open up a textbook or click on a video and essentially get the answer. And in some ways it spoils it, but that you're like, you didn't struggle with it that long, but you should get excited in that way. Think about how someone, Isaac Newton would have given anything to get his hands on all of your textbooks.
Right.
Anyone, even 100 years ago, would give their arm to get their hands on, your textbooks, Khan Academy, et cetera, because there's just so much knowledge in it. So when you have that mindset, any subject becomes really, really, really interesting. And for me, I love to look at subjects and start to realize connections that I had never seen before. So I've actually recently really gotten into etymology, because when you look at where words come from, it starts to actually even explain a lot. One of my favorite ones is, and if this doesn't impress people at social gatherings, what I'm about to tell you will.
Oh, awesome.
So, I was talking about Eastern philosophy and the Vedas. The Vedas are 3,500 or older year old texts that are kind of the basis of Hinduism and Hindu philosophy. And in the Veda, the most mentioned god is Indra, who's kind of the sky god, and he has kind of aspects of like Thor and Nordic mythology. And Indra's father is mentioned in the Vedas 10 times as Sky Father. And Sky Father is Duspater in Sanskrit. Duspater, Jupiter, Zeus Pater. So Jupiter, Zeus Pater, and Dios Pater are all essentially, and this was one of the first pieces of evidence when the British came to India and they got some of the Hindu priests to say, hey, teach us Sanskrit. That was the first time that they realized these connections between all of these languages. It actually wasn't as obvious that even the Germanic languages and the Latin-based languages were so closely connected. When they saw Sanskrit in India is so closely tied to these languages, it in some ways blew everyone's mind, and they started realizing, wow, there must have been a people, a lot of Western historians would say people who originated in Central Asia or out of the Caucasus. A lot of Indians would say maybe out of even North India, but you share this common ancestry. But when things like that, at least for me, give me chills, because you're like, wow, incredible. There's like this, just over the last 3,000-4,000 years, the things that have happened, and humanity, modern humans have been, physiologically modern humans have been around for several hundreds of thousands of years. So just even think about all the things we don't know, right. All those stories. Yeah, I mean, that kind of stuff gives me chills. So that's the kind of thing when I was a kid, I was always interested by kind of epic stories, but sometimes if I was sitting in my 7th grade history class, I wasn't as interested. But when I started to view history like this, then it all became super interesting. So long answer to my favorite
that's incredible.
Subject.
That's awesome. So we have some more donations that have come in. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you, Margaret. Really appreciate the donation. Muhammad, thank you for your donation. And you're Muhammad Rahman, my mother's maiden name is Rahman, so maybe we're related. Thank you. We're all related.
Yes.
As we just talked about, we're all related. It's actually a fun game. Once again, if you can't impress people with this, to just think about how far you have to go back to have a common ancestor. And obviously, I mean, I don't know, maybe 23andMe and stuff can answer these questions, but it's fun to just think about, well, maybe someone in Genghis Khan's army, thank you, Russell, for your donation. Thank you, Katarina, for your donation. Thank you, Daniel, for your donation.
Thanks so much.
Makes a huge difference, and it means a lot. And look, it both helps us fuel what we do, but hopefully as you donate, you feel like you are part of our team and our adventure and our mission, and you become an ambassador for what we do as well, because it's not going to happen. We have a lot of people here who are gung-ho about what we need to do, but obviously something like a free world-class education for anyone, anywhere is a very, very big statement.
Yeah, it takes all of us.
It takes all of us, and we're going to need a lot of partners, and hopefully you also view yourself as part of that army, that movement. That can help the world get there. So thank you.
Definitely, yeah. Thank you so much.
Just a reminder, we're trying to raise $5,000. Yes. And
yes, during this live stream. Awesome. And you can donate on YouTube, on Facebook, or you can go to our website at khanacademy.org/donate.
I like that question. What is my least favorite subject?
Yeah, that is a good one.
Celebrity gossip.
Yeah.
And I say that because sometimes I too get drawn in.
Mm-hmm.
I know what you're thinking, Sal. No, you're always studying Sanskrit and high-minded. There's no way you are drawn to clickbait. But yes, I too.
Yeah.
But I don't feel good
Yeah.
after I've read some of those things.
I
So
can
it's
understand
my least favorite subject.
Yeah.
I don't know. What's your least favorite subject?
I think my least favorite subject would probably be math because I never felt like I was good at math. But I didn't have Khan Academy when I was growing up, so I didn't.
Lizzie is
Yeah.
You are here.
Yeah.
You should be getting on.
I know. I need to. I have started a little bit. I have been working through some algebra.
Good.
So.
Good. Actually, one of the people who almost was one of the people who helped me, who convinced me to quit my job to work on Khan Academy, he said, and this was a man who had actually started a bunch of restaurants. He was a very successful restaurateur. And he said, his name is Jeremiah Hennessy. He's the founder of BJ's Restaurants.
Oh, wow.
And he just randomly started calling me in 2008 saying, like, you need to quit your job because Khan Academy's too, and I was like, really? Who are you? And he's like, I was like, oh, BJ's Restaurants. I've been there. That's good casual dining. But he was telling me that when he hires people, he divides the world between people who know algebra and don't know algebra. And not that, like, a restaurant manager is going to have to solve simultaneous equations and things like that, but algebra builds those critical thinking skills
Right.
and that kind of metacognition that you feel confident that they could learn higher order things. So I actually do think that, if everyone almost everyone has taken algebra, at least in places like the U.S., but if everyone really mastered algebra, I actually think our level of discourse would go up. And it's not like algebra is the end all and be all, but it's one of many things that if people got there, critical thinking and public discourse would go up. People would feel more confident engaging. They wouldn't just defer to experts, things like that. So learn your algebra.
Yes, definitely. I'm trying. All right, so some other questions. So what are your plans for creating content in other languages?
So we have 40 translation and localization projects going on at Khan Academy around the world. And these are done by incredible volunteers. Some of them have local sponsorship. Some of them are just very similar to what I was doing 10 years ago, kind of in their equivalent of their walk-in closets, just trying to make it work, trying to be of service to the people in their geographies. We have more formal projects in Latin America. We have a partnership with the Lemon Foundation in Brazil, the Slim Foundation in Mexico, Carlos Rodriguez Pasteur in Peru have been incredible supporters. And we have teams in those places that are doing localization, not just of the videos, but the exercises. They're creating some net new content. They're aligning it to the various standards in those areas. We also have a decent-sized team, 14 people in India. That are, we just had a presentation from them yesterday, where they are not only localizing the content, making that new content. India is interesting because there's many languages in India, but making it work for the various languages, the various standards. So that's our plans right now. That's what we're currently doing. But obviously, over the long arc, we want to be able to reach everyone on the planet.
Yeah, that's our mission. All right, so we have some other ones here. What do you think are the main hurdles for Khan Academy to achieve its mission?
The main hurdles for Khan Academy to achieve its missions. So, it might sound a little bit too obvious at a fundraising live stream.
Right. Yes, money.
But yes, it takes resources. As I said before, our mission, governments are spending trillions of dollars trying to essentially tackle the same mission. And there a lot is good of coming out of it, but we are, Khan Academy is the budget of a large high school. And we reach on the order of 100 million people every year. But to do that, it takes resources. So the first thing is, I probably spend 40% of my time fundraising. Because if we don't have those resources, we're not going to be able to do everything we've talked about.
Yeah.
So I think that's number one. I think after that, the main thing is, and I think we've been making good progress on this. So I don't think it's going to be like a barrier, but I think it's just we have to keep pushing. Is finding ways that we can work more formally with major school districts. That's something we're doing right now. We have a partnership with Las Vegas, Clark County. Where students are using it as part of, they take this assessment called the MAP Growth Assessment, and now that assessment acts as a diagnostic and placement for Khan Academy. And then the students are able to work on that, and the district's able to see how Khan Academy is able to, not only how the MAP can help influence personalized plans on Khan Academy, but then Khan Academy they can understand how Khan Academy is hopefully growing the students more than expected. So I think we need to do more things like that. I think we need to be able to, there's a lot of stuff. I mean, our team has a huge list of stuff we want to improve on the experience on Khan Academy. I got out of a meeting earlier this morning where we're talking about improving our math content even more, adding new content areas. We want to improve the game mechanics, make it even more motivating to use Khan Academy. We're constantly trying to study the efficacy of what we're doing. All of that takes resources. And then I think we just have to keep doing that. Add more subjects. There's some longer, big picture things that I would want to eventually tackle, like how does the learning on Khan Academy translate into opportunity? Whether that's some form of credential or connections to internships or jobs or higher education. I think that's something that we need to figure out over the next, I'd like to get started on it in the next 5 years. But yeah, those are our big things. But the resources, let me put it this way, our ideas right now are bigger than our capacity. So if we can raise $5,000, that will move us in that direction.
Yeah.
And I'll also do the order of operations problem, which
Yes.
I don't know if anyone really wants me to do it, but I'll do it.
Yeah, no,
You
that
think
would
so?
be great.
It's a little bit.
We
okay.
did just receive some more donations.
All right. Oh, and Michael or Michelle, Michelle, Amoa Khan, thank you so much. Daniel.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you
your
so much for
donations.
the donations.
Awesome. So we have a few minutes left. We're actually going to move to what we call the lightning round.
Okay.
So we're going to do 10 questions, and you have 10 seconds to answer each.
Okay.
To each question or all?
No, each question.
No,
Each
that would be
question.
ridiculous.
Okay, yeah, that would be really, really hard. Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
timing.
Awesome.
Oh, I'm actually going to be timed.
So tell me when to start. Okay, cool. So what's your favorite color?
Blue.
Do you have a black hole badge?
I have 2.
Ooh. What is your
Because
favorite?
It's nepotism. I don't know what not nepotism. It's just, it's
Yeah.
misuse of power. Yeah.
What is your favorite exercise? Like physical exercise? Yeah.
Deadlifts.
Okay. Who is your favorite inventor or scientist?
Favorite inventor or scientist? I will just go Leonardo da Vinci.
Awesome. Mine too. If you were a classroom teacher, what grade would you want to teach?
Oh, I would want to cheat. I'm going to cheat. I would teach a mixed age classroom.
Ooh.
And I would make the older kids teach the younger kids. And I would be
Nice.
kind of the Dumbledore of it all.
Nice. Oh, is that it? All right. Well, we can go through a couple more of these. So, what's your favorite food?
Favorite dark chocolate.
Awesome. Favorite chemical element?
Favorite oxygen.
Awesome. What Hogwarts house do you belong to?
I would like to believe it's a toss-up between Gryffindor. I'll just go with Gryffindor. It's a cop-out.
Yeah. What's your favorite TV show?
Favorite TV show. I've been enjoying, well, there's several. I enjoyed Good Place.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good one.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Nice.
I like to, actually, I've been watching with my kids, Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego on Netflix.
Oh, nice.
Quite good.
Oh,
Like,
awesome.
Quite, I can't wait for season 3.
That's awesome. I haven't watched it yet. And then the last one, Star Trek or Star Wars?
I think before some of the new ones came out, I would have said Star Wars, but now maybe Star Trek. Because I think they keep repeating the same plot line.
Yeah.
The Empire has this weapon that can destroy a planet. Oh, no. You thought? Anyway, I'm happy to help them if they want
We have
ideas.
one more donation.
Oh, Derek, thank you so much.
Awesome.
Marcy.
Oh, and another one.
Marcy wants to join.
Dan, thank you so much.
Oh, thanks, Dan.
Marcy's here too. Marcy, you want to come up here? You want to come up?
Oh, come here.
Come up.
She'll stay
Come up.
out
Come
there.
here. Come here.
Come here.
Come up here. Come
Come
up here.
here.
Can
Can you come up here?
can you sit up here? Oh yeah. There you go. Oh
That's
yeah.
Marcy.
Marcy.
Good
Oh
girl.
well. Did we get to our target? Do we know? Should I explain the order of operations regardless?
Yeah. Let's do.
All
the
right.
Viral.
Because, all right.
Math problem.
So the reason why y'all have seen this before. I mean, the reason why this I think went viral is some people, you learn in school order of operations. Some people learn things like PEMDAS, which is like parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. You oftentimes learn in school you do parentheses first. That's obvious. But then you do, multiplication and division are kind of equal, and when in doubt, you do them left to right. And then addition and subtraction are kind of equal, and when in doubt, do them left to right. What's tricky here is, okay, so the obvious part is to do the parentheses first. I don't think anyone debates that.
Okay.
So if that's just 4 right there. So you have 8 divided by 2 times 4. Now, if you take the left to right attitude about it, you'd say 8 divided by 2 is 4 times 4, which is 16.
Right.
That's one way people have done it. The other way people have said is, wait, but if I see a number right next to the parentheses, I feel like I have to multiply that first.
Right.
So people say 2 times the 4, that's 8, and then 8 divided by 8 would be 1. So you get either 16 or 1, I think. Maybe other people have got other things, but that might be a little bit more suspicious. My take on it, I mean, one, this tells you why you learn something like order of operations. Order of operations are just to try to remove ambiguity from mathematical expressions like this. My view on this is, if I see a number right next to parentheses, I almost view that as like a light form of parentheses. It's a light form of emphasis of like, you're going to do that first. So my inclination would be to go to the 1. 8 divided by 2 times 4, so 8 divided by 8, which is 1. But this is why if you're doing, even if you're doing like a math thesis, this is why it's good to even use more parentheses. When in doubt, use extra parentheses if you think what you're saying can be ambiguous. In fact, that's not true just in math, that's true in life. Especially if it's something important, explain it, be very clear. But, these are just symbols that are trying to convey an idea, and you don't want to be ambiguous. And so if you think it's going to be ambiguous, just put another parentheses around that. Or if you really wanted the 8 to be divided by 2 before you multiply, then put the parentheses around that first. So I would say whoever did this just should have included more parentheses, but my inclination is definitely to do the 2 times the parentheses first because it's right next to it. If there was a multiplication symbol there, then I probably would have gone left to right. Hopefully that's helpful.
Yeah, awesome. Cool. Well, we have another donation.
Barcy left.
Yeah.
Wasn't really interested in my explanation.
Yeah. Awesome. So,
Corey.
Thank you so much, Corey, for your
thank
donation. You. Awesome. So it looks like we've raised about 1,000 so far on YouTube and 830 on Facebook, which is super exciting. Thank you all for your donations.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Yeah, for sure. So like we were talking about earlier, today is Giving Tuesday, and we are a nonprofit, so any support is super helpful, and $1 does provide 3 hours of learning time, so you can have a huge impact with your gift, and you can always give at khanacademy.org/donate, but yeah, I think we're at time for today. Awesome. Do you have any last things you'd like to say?
No, well, thank you for viewing, and it means a lot that y'all are part of this journey with us. It's a big, audacious mission. I tell the team here all the time that, there was a time where it was just, me in a walk-in closet. That was kind of the first chapter of Khan Academy. Then around 2009, 2010, we were able to get some of the first support to start building this incredible team. Here's some management advice: higher up. Then you can't go wrong that way. And I think Khan Academy is now entering a phase where, we reach tens of millions of students, but we want to be able to reach hundreds of millions and reach them in a really deep and substantive way so that, that story of Jason, that young man who was in prison for 15 years. And, we have people in places like Afghanistan who, the young girls who the Taliban forbade from going to school who were able to learn on Khan Academy. And, now they're doing physics research. We want to multiply those stories by 1,000-fold or 1,000,000-fold. And, I hope that everyone, all of us and everyone watching, that our kids or our grandchildren can't imagine a world where free world-class education for anyone anywhere isn't essentially a human right. So thank you for helping us move towards that vision. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.